Hey, everyone, Emmanuel here. Okay, so a little bit different approach to breathing, a little bit of internal, external kind of thing. Let me explain to you what I mean. So we're going to start to breathe like a lot of people understand when you're breathing inside yourself. So like into your lungs, into your body, into different body parts, some visualization things. But rarely have we thought about breathing outside of ourselves. And um, I don't believe I've talked about it with you guys. And I want to show you kind of what I mean, where you learn how to breathe inside yourself and you learn how to breathe outside yourself. Both are really interesting topics. And it really is hard to explain. It's a lot easier to feel if you do it long enough. So let's start. I'll walk you through kind of a morning routine that I do that I kind of really enjoy, that I find helps me a lot in a lot of different ways. And we'll see where it leads us in the class today. And hopefully you enjoy everything. So I'm going to start by lying down just because it's the most comfortable position, but you could do it seated. You could even do it standing. It doesn't really matter. And I will vary, but we'll start from lying down. It might be the easiest. So you just get on the ground and try to find a as comfortable position as you can, um, just kind of on the ground as I am right now, and first just kind of listening to my body, kind of scanning what my body is telling me. Now, for me, if I can get you into my head, I got my left side is higher up than my right side, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I One was on Sunday, I competed in a big archery competition, and I think we shot about 300 arrows in total. And I'm pushing with this arm and I'm pulling with this. So my body feels a little bit out of balance. I can feel that right away. It's minute, but I can definitely feel it. So I'm going to try to kind of, I won't say fix that, but try to kind of put myself in a place where I don't see that as much. And then I'm going to start to breathe. And of course, I'm going to feel the rise and fall of my chest right away. So it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. And for now, I'm just picking a breathing that is very comfortable for me. So maybe if I had to put a time, but probably like 3 seconds in and 3 seconds out. It's definitely going to get longer or deeper, but I don't like to force those things. I like to, as my lungs and my body relax and my mind starts to calm down, the breath naturally goes deeper without you forcing it. So I'm just going to breathe in, breathe out, in, and out. And I can already feel it starting to get longer, as they say, or deeper as well. Um, so then I'm going to start to, as I take in more air, start to shift my focus to maybe the side of my lungs. So you often see this part kind of up and down, but I'm going to try focus on side of my ribs. So as I breathe in, I'm going to focus more, at least my mental energy, to filling and opening the lungs like east and west. Now, what's interesting is I have my hands on my chest, so just to feel that there's not as much rising and falling on the chest. But I could easily put my hands on the ribs as well, and as I breathe in, I should feel that there's like some pressure, like I should feel an increase in pressure on my hands. And out, in, and out. And now I'm gonna focus on my back. So the lungs, for those of you that understand the anatomy, lungs lie closer to the back than the chest. So it's very common when they're doing lung surgery in a hospital that they go in through the back. They don't necessarily go in through the front. It's a little bit easier to access. It's very close to the back. So as I'm breathing in, it's like I want to feel the pressure of my mid back pushing into the ground because my lungs are pushing down into the ground, in other words. When I breathe out, the pressure kind of comes off. Now I'm going to move towards my belly, right? So I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to try fill this up and then breathe out. Let it go down. So then I start to now move that feeling towards my legs. So I start to breathe in and it's like I feel like my thighs start to fill up. So it doesn't, maybe it's not actually, but I'm thinking about it like that. As I breathe in, it's like my thighs fill up. And breathe out, empty, and they go down. Now my knees. I'm trying to focus on breathing into my knees. Now my ankles or feet, ankle and feet. Now my entire legs. So I breathe in, and it's like everything from the waist down to the feet fills up. And out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. I'm going to do the same thing with my arms now. So I'm going to breathe in, fill up my arms. Breathe out, relax my arms. Breathe in, fill up my arms. Breathe out, relax them. Now I'm going to breathe in and fill up my arms and legs. Out. In. Out. And now I'm going to pick any place that I feel is like maybe an old injury or something that's acting up on me. So I had old knee injury. So it's always kind of with me a little bit. So I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to really focus on breathing towards that injury, that old injury. That's not injured now, it's just an old one. Out. And now I have some, like I said, on my left side, I feel a little bit off balance. So I'm going to start to breathe to that side of my body now. Now I'm going to try to breathe to my body as one piece. So like as one whole lung, right? So as I breathe in, it's like I feel all of my body kind of coming up or being very light. I'm breathing out, feel really grounded into the ground. Breathe in. Very good. So I kind of go through my body, and there's really no end. There's really no end to this. You can break it down like piece by piece, one side of your neck, the other side of the neck. You can do your face, you can do fingers. You can breathe to all body parts. And there's a couple of reasons. One is you're practicing your breathing. The other is you're mapping your mind, like you're strengthening connection from what you think and what you feel. So when I breathe to my shoulders, I strengthen that connection, right? That nerve connection that goes here. Of course, you can add a muscular activation to the whole thing if you want. But in this particular case, I just want to focus on connecting my breathing with that body part, okay? And again, there's really no level. You can work with old injuries, you can work for overall health. Sometimes the places which you breathe, like if you're outside compared to inside, morning air compared to night air, daytime compared to night, like these little things that um, the, the air, the quality of air too, can make a huge difference, right? As sometimes by the ocean or by the forest, it's a different feeling comes over you. So you're breathing that into your body, and you're bringing as much awareness as you can, both mentally and physically, into your body. The interesting part has to be how to do this externally. And it seems first like kind of heebie-jeebie, but if you had to look at it like from a spiritual perspective, we all need to maybe say a prayer for ourselves from time to time. Life is challenging, so time to time we've all been there, and there's other times where you might need to say a prayer for somebody else, and that's where you send that prayer to them. Um, yeah, life is the same. Sometimes we live for ourselves, and other times maybe we live for other people, whether it's kids or older parents, or we need to be there for them and live through them for a bit, right? It's just the way life is, and we need to see that with breathing. It's to me the most interesting part of my breathing training that I've done in the last 5 years, and it's gotten to a point where it's pretty strong and it's really nice, and it's studying how to breathe like outside of yourself. Okay, so maybe I can give you a few more analogies. People that have kind of claustrophobia, they're in a tight space, and the breathing, their mind thinks about how they're restricted, and that feeling makes them tense. People that can weather claustrophobia, and we all have a degree of it, right? Depending on the situation, is the person that can breathe outside of themselves, not inside themselves. If you try to breathe inside, you feel claustrophobic. So we'll start really simple, where like I'll do it seated in this particular case. So I pick again a comfortable position, and I start to look down at the ground in front of me, so it's not very far away, or like a hand, like it can be like a hand that you're looking at, so it's not far from your face, right? And it's like you want to breathe in from that spot, and then you want to breathe out to that spot. So it's like, here is my lungs, not here. I know it's here, but I'm just saying it's like I'm my focus is drawing the air from this point. So I'm breathing from, let's say, the distance of my hand, right? So yeah. So before I would be focusing on my lungs or some body part I have. Now I'm focusing on external. So it's outside. So, and again, the hand is quite obvious. Then I would pick things like I've got a wall behind me about 2, 3 meters away, and I got a wall behind me, of course, here, but I got one behind the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that wall, and I'm now going to breathe from that wall to me. So it's like the air is coming from that wall to me, and then the air is going from my mouth to that wall, right? So again, it's very visual. So my eyes are looking at something, and then I'm breathing from that point to myself. Okay. Um, it came to me another analogy I can give you guys. Lots of us have maybe done sports, or we've coached different sports, or we've seen different sports. When an athlete practices, they practice on their own, like so, or in a practice, they're working on themselves. The team is working on themselves. The individual athlete is working on themselves. So if you're an individual sport athlete, you're working on yourself. If you're a team, you're working on the team dynamic, right? But it's very much an internal focus on the team. Now, when you play the game, it's all external. You're not thinking about yourself. You're now playing the game, and you're trying to understand or figure out your opponent or the other team. And it's very much like life. We go to our house, but then when we go outside, we go to work. Now it's outside of us, and we live our our life outside, like involved in interacting with other people outside of ourselves or outside of our circle, even strangers, all kinds of people. So there's our close family unit or family or group, and then there's others, right? So there's outside, inside. It's very much like those analogies. Now I'm going to work with like the side of my eye. So I've got this, and then I have the periphery of my vision, right? So I can see a little bit this way and this way. And it's a longer um, stretch. It's maybe 10 meters either way on this side. So, but I can still kind of see it at the corner of my eye. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to breathe from the sides into me and then out this way, right? So I'm kind of obviously visualizing. Let me, so I'm doing this. Let me see if I can explain to you kind of a different way here. So there's this pole here and I just, maybe I can give you guys a little bit more of an insight. Imagine like I'm right up in front of this pole. I can't pull in air, like I'm right up against something here. Okay. So the air has to come from this way. It has to go this way. It's not like I'm blowing the air into here. So when I breathe in, it's like I didn't draw air from the front of me. It's obviously the nose is underneath, but it's coming this way. And then as I breathe out, it's like the air falling out of my mouth. I'm not forcing it out through the front. So I soften my mouth, my cheeks, and the exhale becomes very flat exhale. It doesn't shoot out in front, but it goes out this way. Okay. And this one's really good for people that tend to get angry easily. You find that if you like if you blow like that, it's almost like fire, or they're like you. Oh, when people get really angry. When you soften your exhale, because like I'm facing a wall, there's no point in. When I soften my inhale, and then I just open my mouth, and I just let the air to come out kind of everywhere, like not shooting out. Um, it softens my anger. It softens it softens that. The only word I can say is you can still be angry, but it softens it. So first I visualize breathing outside myself from long distance, like from something I can see in front of me, so directly there and back. So it's a longer distance. This is now like a sideways distance. So it seems kind of hard to explain, but it's like you're breathing air not channeled, but kind of spread out, right? It's almost like a mist as compared to a direct spray from a bottle, right? It's more of a mist, right? That the air comes in and comes out. Now, if you don't have a wall, it's fine. Just visualize not creating like a funnel coming out of your mouth. Great. So, excuse me. There we go. So, and it's suffice to say that um, you're breathing. The deeper, of course, you go, a little bit more relaxed you become. But the trick is not to force it. It's just to allow, because every given day is a little bit different. Like as much as I've been practicing my breath training, um, it some days better than others, right? And again, where you're doing it will vary sometimes as well. But you want to get deeper and deeper because you start to find it relaxes you. You start to feel even your mind starts to become, I won't say sleepy, but you start to, with all that oxygen, right? Your mind, your body, your brain just it realizes something different is going on, right? So allow yourself and try push yourself to take more air, but don't force it. Like try to relax more and then get more air rather than force more air in. So there's long, wide, and the last one is from top. So or from the ground as well too, right? So it's like I'm breathing in, of course, because um, the nose is already pointed down. It's easy to think about air coming this way. But when I exhale now, it's like I'm going to exaggerate it with my lips, like I'm blowing down. It's the same, but I'm not going to change my lips. So as I breathe in, it comes this way. And as I breathe out, I'm, I'm visualizing air going down. It's like heavy, it's like falling. Now the exact same from the top. So it's not like I want to turn my nose up, but I want to imagine air coming and then not like blowing it up this way, but I want to visualize air like rising. And then switching. And then switching. Switch. Good. So yeah, and then there's really no rhyme or rhythm. You could do it with your hands even. You could put your hands in different positions and you can, so it doesn't have to be like far distances. Um, it really is just the limit of your imagination, right? Like for me, there's lots of places I haven't been. I've seen pictures of them, but I've actually never been there. Um, you have an imagination for it, right? Or what it would be like, right? Um, so first you start if I'm in this room where I have a ceiling, I have a floor, I have walls all around me, it's very easy just to use the room, right? It could be a picture, it could be a wall, it could be whatever's around me, right? And the idea is, yes, the breathing is technically happening in my body, but all my awareness and my visualization and my mind is outside of me. And then and then I would flip it and say the same for my body. All the breathing is inside me, but I'm visualizing different body parts and trying to strengthen the connection. Now, markers and milestones that you will find, right? What you find if you do this for at least 4 6 weeks, maybe longer, hard to put a date on it, depends on the person, is that you'll start to detect things in your body. Like I can detect things much quicker now. Like if I've strained a muscle, or if I've overused a certain body part, or if I've eaten something bad, or if I've drunk something bad, something like this, I can detect it, right? Even sun, like I was outside quite a bit, so there was quite exposure to the sun, and I could feel that my skin was quite sensitive, even though I put protection on. Still, I could feel maybe it wasn't enough. Um, and the same happens on the outside. So you start to realize as you're walking, like you can detect, because like for most of I'm a martial artist, but I'm also done a lot of things, whether it's other sports. The first level of martial arts is always awareness, right? It's being aware of your situation. And the way you get good by wearing is by looking and by understanding the rooms that you're in. So I will practice this kind of work in wide open spaces like a forest or a park. And I'll practice this at home in a small room, or practice in my gym where I'm at right now. And what it does is, when you go outside yourself, is that you start to realize that there is an energy and there is an awareness of the space that you're in. And so that's the first part. And some people will want to say, good or bad. Oh, is it a bad situation and you want to leave? If it's a good situation, you stay. But um, life is not like that. There's many situations that are bad, but that are necessary for you to go through, right? There's a lot to teach you. So there's like danger bad. Those are rare. I mean, yeah, they're around. I mean, you could always, sense that. But there's also bad situations that have a lot to teach you, have a lot to show you, and you need to be able to stay in that situation long enough to learn the lesson that needs to be learned, right? Um, so this is important, so I would sense, as I entered rooms, the idea of like, where should I be? Like, where should I be in the room? And then within that room, how should I be? Right? Like sometimes, there's, and then also in conversations, it's the same thing. You're having a conversation with somebody, um, um, you know, listening as versus to talking, like how the flow of the conversation and the flow of the interaction that you're having with somebody, and how it's going. And I would detect, I could detect changes in myself because I worked on my, breathing to my different body parts. I was good at detecting, and then I was also good at detecting the room and other people. As a teacher, I watch students all the time. Um, as a parent, I watch my kids playing sports all the time in different ways, and you're a spectator, so I'm watching them and admiring them. Um, and then other athletes there. So I'm outside myself, I'm inside myself, and there are times where, um, that you can express yourself on an external level and understand how to fit in, right? Um, it's so hard to explain how you're using this kind of idea of breathing as a template for understanding how to navigate through life. And life is going to give you all kinds of things. Sometimes you need to listen, sometimes you need to talk, sometimes you need to move, sometimes you need to stay. And there's no template for that. That's just something you have to feel, that this is the time that that I need to do this. The day works out, and it's like, today I've got a lot of peace and quiet at the house. Today's a good day to read and write because it's quiet. That's how I like it. And I didn't plan that. That's just how that happened. And life is very much like that. Breathing can be an internal thing. It can be an external thing. It depends on where I'm at and what's happening, right? If I start to get upset or angry, I need to maybe work on myself a little bit. If I start to see other people get angry or situations, I need to know how to calm them down or understand that situation, or remove certain people or insert other people, right? It's amazing. For as long as I've seen, altercations, you'd see, I mean, back when I was younger, if a police officer showed up at a scene of some fight or some altercation, everybody all of a sudden became logical and practical, right? It was quite interesting how it quickly sobered everybody up and made everybody nicer, right? So, so it's within us. So two people are angry at each other. They're really fear, and then all of a sudden, some other person comes, and right away it changes them, right? Parents tend to do that too. Kids can be a certain way until their parents come, and then all of a sudden they change a little bit, right? Very common. So it can be internal and then also external. So I would find that as I was walking through streets of Toronto, as I was going through different places, I was able to read certain situations much better than friends of mine or acquaintances that I was with. I could just navigate spaces and understand where I need to be, right? And the same internally as well. When I had different problems, whether one time I had broken my arm, another time I'd gotten sick somehow, or stomach thing I had, and then all of a sudden I was able to navigate what was the correct thing to do, because it's not, again, it's not always black and white. There's many different things. So you practicing breathing on yourself and then also outside yourself will help you understand how to kind of go through life in the right way. Now, there's many layers to this stuff. I can just only express to you if you start like this simple. Again, you can add muscular activation, like you can breathe in and tense up your muscles. It kind of muddies the water sometimes, though, because your mind is needs to drive some stuff. So I'll give you an example. You guys can try this and see if you feel it now. But I'm going to make my fists very, very strong and very tight. And I realize when I do that, part of my mind also locked up. Like part of it feels like this position triggers my mind to say, something's wrong for your fist to be this tight. But then without changing anything here, without saying relax my fist, I'm going to just relax myself. So I'm going to like almost relax my heart, like that deep inside me. And by doing that, I realized that I've actually softened as well a little bit the inside of my fist. So if this is its own little body, by relaxing myself inside here, the only thing, I relax my fist a little bit. And you realize that when you learn how to relax yourself deep inside, it relaxes all parts of you. It's one part. When you relax a little bit, then also people on the outside relax a little bit, because they subconsciously taking cues from you. If they see you're kind of nervous, right? My dog has this, right? My dog can, quite big dog, very protective, not aggressive, but protective. If something upsets me, she can sense it. You see she's alert, right? And if I'm calm, then she calms down. It's like she can feel when something's bothered me. So in other words, my upset can travel through space. It's not just for me. She can feel it. She can see it, maybe, of course, but she can also feel it, right? Because maybe I keep my angry face, but I relax myself. She can feel that. So when something upsets us deep inside, and maybe you can hide it, but it's also transmitted. So it's kind of an interesting way on how to kind of move through life. If you're, I'm just not angry, and you really are aware of yourself and keeping yourself calm, you don't attract any attention. You don't even attract bad thoughts or bad things, because it's almost like you're Teflon, right? It's like nothing sticks to you, right? And there are people like that. They're amazing at it. They're not conniving. They just found a way how to go through this world without upsetting anybody, even themselves first. They don't upset themselves, so they go through. The people that upset themselves, they already upsetting other people because they're upsetting themselves. Like, you know, the old adage, if you can't love yourself, how will you love somebody else? It's this exact same. If you have anger inside you, and you can't hide it, people will feel this. So um, connecting the breathing and the awareness allows you to highlight where there's a problem and remove it, so that you don't it doesn't manifest deeper. So please practice this. All right, so practice internal visualizing and breathing in certain parts of your body, and then do the same but outside yourself. Again, use your hands as a template. Maybe you can breathe to the hand wherever they are, and then you can use the room around you, or an open space is the same thing. I can still visualize the sky. I can still visualize a tree, farther away. Um, it's also possible east, west, north, south. You can just go like this. And what you'll find is when you go to a crowded, like I said, go to like a space, you'll start to see it's like, I should be over here. I should be over here. It's really interesting how this works out. It's hard to explain. I don't know. I hope it came across in the session I taught you today. And if you, as always, if you have any questions, just please ask me. We're talking about a little bit finer details about breathing, much more than just in, out to the chest, right? We're trying to go a little bit deeper. I always tell my students there's good enough, there's good, and then there's the highest form of human good. Each one of them is very similar, just more details, right? So a school teacher would say the difference between C, B, and A in terms of a mark or a grade is 10 or 15, 20 minutes of extra practice or extra homework. It's not much more. It's like people think it's like hours and hours. Not really, right? It doesn't take much more to go from good enough to good. And then from good to the highest form of good, that's deeper. That has to do with character, that has to do with virtues, that has to do with lots of little things, but they're very subtle, and they can only be found if you understand yourself perfectly and if you understand around you perfectly, to understand the highest form of something that you want to do. Okay, hope this helps, and I will see you next Wednesday again for a different take on breathing, and hopefully we can go a little bit deeper than the beginner level. Okay, hope everybody enjoyed it. Bye bye.